All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of the program. Merely Bo and the Great Z. The sun is out, my friend. It's sun-kissed here on a Tuesday.
It's great to see the sun on a Tuesday. It is a beautiful thing as we get ready for a little Saturday football this weekend at First Energy Stadium, which I don't believe will be looking like this.
Is it not? What are we looking at?
I Didn't we look at it?
Gibby's got a hand up already. It said 32 and gusty. What can you tell us, Gibby?
More entertaining to me than anything else.
Okay.
Is you adjusting your headphones.
Yeah.
And Zagura reaches down to adjust his right after you do, but he's doing your knob, not his.
This was my knob.
No, the second one's mine.
Yes.
Yeah, first one's yours.
You touched his at first. You did it yesterday too, and I
He's a
laughed.
friend. He can touch my knob anytime he wants.
Thank you, Bo.
He's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's safe.
We have full knob touching.
Saturday, there's no precipitation. Let's just go with that.
Okay,
we keep waiting.
It's going to be cold.
It's interesting, like, as I've looked at 7 days, really going back, I think, fellas, for about a month, every time I would look at an end of a seventh day, I'd be like, oh, it's going to get cold here. Then it's going to be 32. Then it'll be 28. And it just keeps getting pushed. I know it's inevitable. It's coming. But we haven't had that yet. We're here in the middle of December. Today's gorgeous out. I mean, it's cooler, but it's sunny. I mean, it's amazing what
You're
the
wearing
sun
a vest.
does. I'm wearing a vest.
Let me
It's
tell you
gorgeous.
something. It stinks because it looked like we were going to get a little snow at the end of this week and then certainly snow leading up to Christmas, and now it looks like that's all gone.
It looks like
Oh, no, the forecast for next
it
week
looks
for
like
Christmas
it looks like we have snow here Friday, Saturday. We could have a little bit of snow here at the CMC. But let me see. Yeah, you could.
next week.
Yeah,
Thursday,
next week,
Friday.
20s. Your 20s headed into the holidays, so that's
Christmas Eve.
that'd be fun.
Christmas Eve against the Saints right now is calling for a high of 19.
Now, where will that game be played?
Here. Hopefully in a dome.
Not in New Orleans.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. The more you watch of, I mean, I was thinking about. You saw the Bills sign Beasley back.
Yeah.
They had to get. They're not able to get underneath. But the more you watch them, you think about us with Watson. Like, if you have one of these football Ferraris at quarterback, and you're going to have them for a decade,
You want
control
a good
the climate,
environment.
man. Control the climate.
Yes, you want a good environment.
Yeah, very good. It's so you guys remind, and Gibby reminds in the rundown today, that today is like a First Friday, even though it is a Tuesday for the team. It's like a First Friday.
Yeah.
So they'll have a walkthrough later today. When is Coach addressing the media?
Today at 3:45 after their walkthrough.
All right, very
Perfect for us.
good. Yeah. Fantastic. And then we're on with the week with that Saturday 4 o'clock. How much is made? Is this? You move up a day. I think away you go.
I'm surprised, though, that it's not – like I would have thought that you would have had Monday off.
Yeah.
Tuesday would have been Wednesday. Or maybe you don't get Monday off. Tuesday is Wednesday.
Coming
I
off
think
the L,
next
you
week
probably eat
that
it.
will be the case. But because you're coming off of the Sunday game, like next week, we play on Saturday. So they'll be off on Sunday,
and then they'll come in
and
Monday.
probably
and then
Monday.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying it feels to me like we got work to do.
Yeah.
We are not an accomplished football team right now.
No, not. So there you go. So you'll have the game here on Saturday, and that's 4:30.
4:30.
Okay, and then we're back-to-back Saturdays, right? When do we know the game time on Christmas Eve? Has that been
1
set?
o'clock.
That's 1 o'clock. Okay.
1 o'clock.
Okay. All right, there you go. It's funny. Like normally, I look ahead to all of those things, but we have been in a just win this week mode for a while now, and so I haven't even paid attention to
It didn't matter.
what's coming because it didn't matter until you stack wins. You really couldn't look ahead, and now the reality of the situation, which by the way got worse last night. It was long odds anyway, but certainly all of the losses for the teams that have tiebreakers over you were going to be required. The Patriots getting by Arizona. Kyler Murray hurt right away with a non-contact knee injury.
That was awful.
I like any time when you pick an NFL game and you say, he has trouble with scrambling quarterbacks, and then scrambling quarterback is gone in 3 minutes. That's fun. You like that?
Yeah, that wasn't good for either one of us.
No.
I vowed
Losing
not,
week,
I
I think
vowed
first
not to
losing week
watch
of the
it.
year.
I turned it on. He gets hurt. I was like,
It's-
I'm done. All right, great.
For me, this is a perfect Manning cast game.
Oh,
so
man, it was great.
I've given you guys like my rundown. Now I watch for a half or until they know that the game is going to half, and then I watched Yellowstone last night, and then got into the second half. I did the same thing on Sunday night with White Lotus, get to halftime and then watch, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
And then check back in.
I never came back to this one, I'll be honest.
I checked back in after just to see what the score was, just to pay attention to the scores and see where we were. And then I saw all of a sudden that we discovered offense in the second half, and I went, okay, well, that's enough. I'll go to bed. But this was a game that I had next to no interest in, really at all. In fact, I don't even think other than the Murray injury, which I didn't even see in real time. I saw that later and kind of the aftermath of that. I cannot even tell you a play that was made in the game because all I was doing was listening to the Mannings talk to Burrow and then Bill Simmons. That was my – and then text you.
Yeah,
that
Eli
was
talked right through an entire touchdown.
No, is there a game going on? I'm sorry? I mean, that –
Bill Simmons was great.
Yeah,
he was phenomenal. Yeah. Burrow was not as good as but I think he's got to be careful, right? I think he's very measured.
He was very good on the football stuff and was very it's a good word, measured on anything that was trying to be fun. And they punted, I think, on him. They pulled ripcord pretty quick because it was like, we're not getting much. We had like the kid, the girl with the tooth extraction. Yeah. They had that video. He didn't give him much of anything on that. It was like 3 words. They did like the cigar thing with him and Mac Jones, and which was great. He didn't give him any of that. Very little. They used his dad with the mustache and his relationship to Warner. Were you going to grow a mustache? Like it's a 5-word answer. Like there wasn't much there. And I know you guys don't, but for what I do in the morning, I do listen to the press conferences in Cincinnati, and he's like that week to week. Like he answers questions directly about the non-football stuff, and he'll answer it, but it is short and it's out. Yeah. Like he's not interested in doing that. He's not rude. He's not a punk. Nothing like that. Got a smile on his face. Very open to all of it, but just doesn't feel like he's interested in engaging on that stuff that's silly.
No, I guess that's why she likes his ambition.
Yeah.
He's focused. He's focused right there.
Yeah.
Simmons was great. The story of Eli and Peyton being on a golf trip.
And in their 40s. They're like Dumb and Dumber.
And Eli giving him an atomic wedgie, ruining his favorite pair of underwear, and not allowing him to nap, and apparently causing pain. Peyton said, I was in pain. I wasn't ready to fight because I was in so much pain.
But was so angry that it could have led to that.
Yeah.
By it.
I thought that was great. That was great. And
like
then
Step Brothers.
Getting Peyton to drop the story that Belichick put Peter Bulware onto the Pro Bowl team just to cost Modell $1 million was incredible.
Incredible. And then there was a long snapper that was dating Pamela Anderson, and Belichick put him on the Pro Bowl because he wanted Pamela Anderson.
She didn't come
in the Pro Bowl. That was all great. I think in general, you and I were texting about this last night, they are far too married to their pre-rehearsed questions and bits.
Especially Eli.
Eli especially. Like, let a guy finish a thought. Let a conversation happen in natural order.
Yeah.
Instead, he can't wait to get back to that paper and read another bit that's pre-produced with a graphic or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I think sometimes the people don't know when to stop talking because it feels like as soon as they do, they can't take a breath or else they jump right back in with another pre-produced thing. And I thought that was a little bit too much. The thing that I found, Simmons is so smart that there was when he was asking, he goes, Peyton, you talked to Brady. You guys are in that secret culture. Like, what happened with him and Bill? I would have loved to hear Manning answer that. So they go to break. They come out of break. Manning very half-assed the answer. I mean, it was.
Yeah. He didn't give an answer.
I think they're fine now, is what he said. Like, there wasn't. I think it's fine or whatever. And it's like, well, wait a second. Like, that would have been something of great value. They are not.
I don't think he felt comfortable. It felt
clearly
that he wasn't comfortable sharing whatever Tom Brady has told him.
For sure. But I think that that's happening too often because Moss will ask him a question. They won't give like the type of answer that you'd like to hear from them out of it. It's like they are the show, but they don't want it to be about them. They want to talk all about you in a funny way and be self-deprecating and be silly. But in terms of real substantive you don't get much of that.
No, and they don't want to make news about something that they feel they've gotten somebody to confide in them. I think that is quite clear. And I think that's also quite understandable, to be honest. It was good. Did you see any of Keegan-Michael Key?
I didn't. That's when I was on Yellowstone. And then at the end, it was Vinatieri again. And he had a good story about Pat McAfee about how when they drafted McAfee to the Colts, Vinatieri texted him and was like, "Hey, congratulations, welcome to the Colts. Can't wait to work with you." And McAfee's like, "I'm going to be totally honest with you. I've never held before in my life." And Vinatieri was like, "Come again?" So he had a buddy who held for him for years, and he booked Pat a flight to this guy's house for a week so that you could learn how to hold. And McAfee went, and by the time he was done, he was an excellent holder. Like, that was the type of, like, give a damn that Pat had to make sure that he did that job well. So that was a fun story.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm going to be real honest with you. I've never held.
Never done this before.
Yeah, so I thought that was very good. The game's garbage. I mean, the Cardinals are garbage. The Patriots aren't much. There's nothing there. That Arizona, to think of the energy that organization had at the end of Kyler's rookie year, during Kyler's rookie year, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Dos Unos, all that stuff, to where that organization is now. I don't know. I know they just gave him an extension, there was no reason to do the Kingsbury extension.
None.
And the Murray one you probably didn't need to do either, but now you did them both. I mean, you've got to get out from under Kingsbury now. There's no way you can continue down this path, can you?
No, I think it's over. And you got to hope that you can get Sean Payton, but Sean Payton's not going to be interested now, knowing that Kyler's going to miss a lot of the next year.
Yeah.
It's too late in the season for him not to.
It'd be hard to imagine him playing and being ready by camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, though. You saw you bring up Sean Payton. I don't know. Did you guys see the ratings on Sunday night?
No.
For Chargers Dolphins?
I did not.
Worst Sunday night rating since 2008. They can try to tell you that you have to care about Tua and the Chargers and Herbert. People in those markets don't necessarily care about those two teams, let alone nationally. Those are not national brand franchises. And I think part of it is NFL wants Herbert to be, and he is. He's awesome with his arm talent, but they so badly want him to be a superstar that they market him in that way. But it's not catching on, man. It's not. The ratings are there, and they're not there where the Chargers are on.
We're going to end up with Sunday Night Football always being the Giants, the Cowboys.
No, it could be any northern team.
The Niners, the Steelers.
It can be
the Bears.
Browns, Bengals, Steelers, Ravens. Everybody. It can be Patriots. It has to be northern cities where people are really dialed in, or like the Cowboys, or transcendent stars. But Kansas City's the best of that. I mean, that's a transcendent star. Worse since 2008. That's a lot of firepower for nobody to watch.
From people that are in the know, the ratings for Sunday Night Football all season are down.
That doesn't surprise me. There's too many. It's so much.
Waiting all day is not really.
No,
not really
everybody has access to every game now. You didn't used to. So it used to be that those primetime games mattered more because that were guaranteed to get to watch that. Now everybody can watch whatever they want.
Here's the other thing. When Sunday Night Football first and it's still the number one show on television, so while it's not what it used to be, it's still the number one show. They used to get the best game every week.
Yeah, not anymore.
And they don't.
No.
Because Amazon paid a lot and Disney paid a lot for Monday night. Monday Night Football games have been a lot better.
And I think there's a part of that, and you'd say, well, why isn't it working with Amazon? Because Amazon, the people that probably love Al Michaels and would listen to Al Michaels don't even know how to get onto Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But I think I think losing Al Michaels, think about it. They went from having Dan Patrick, used to be Dan Patrick, Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
Al Michaels.
Yep.
All gone and replaced by people that are not as good as they are.
Lesser across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's no knock on Mike Tirico. He's just not Al Michaels.
No.
And the people running that studio show now,
they got 1,000 people on it.
Too many people.
And it's not good.
No, it's not. It's not. So all of those things factor in. And again, it's still great. I mean, the ratings are still enormous.
Correct.
It's just, down across the board.
Lowest since 2008, though. That's a big deal.
Well, that's why I'm like, this game was the lowest since 2008.
That's a big
with
deal.
all that firepower. But here's the deal. Like, the Miami Dolphins are a very specific Miami franchise, and not even everybody in Miami cares.
Yeah.
And the Chargers they do not have a home.
No.
They don't. I mean, they're trying to hit L.A. over the head with Justin Herbert. L.A. doesn't care. They still view him as the San Diego Chargers. They're not a national brand in any way, despite having cool uniforms and everything else. So all of that it's just kind of the reality of that spot. Jack Conklin voted the Browns' 2022 Ed Block Courage Award recipient. Conklin has been selected by his teammates as the Browns' 2022 Ed Block Courage Award winner. The Ed Block Courage Award is given annually to a member of each of the 32 NFL teams who best exemplifies the quality of Ed Block, the former head athletic trainer of the Baltimore Colts, based on courage, compassion, commitment, and community. Conklin will be recognized during the Providence House's 27th annual Deck the House benefit auction at First Energy Stadium at 6 o'clock.
But I
Congrats
believe
to him.
Hoff
will
is
be
the
there.
MC.
Yeah.
Or the
Hoff's
Master of
emceeing it?
Ceremonies.
I like it. One thing before we get out of the first segment, the sport of football lost a titan today.
Oh, man.
in many ways. As somebody who's spent the vast majority of my time talking about college football, there have been few people I've enjoyed more than Mike Leach, and as long as I've had a microphone, I would play on shows I'm on Mike Leach clips anytime I found them. Oftentimes, I would see them come down on a Saturday, text a producer, and say, "This is going in Monday at 9:48." And we're going to listen to him break down who would win a fight of Pac-12 mascots.
Love that. That was a great one.
Which was a fantastic. Every one of them was. And so there's a couple of things with Leach. Like, he's known, I think, primarily because of these clips from YouTube and social media have made people aware of Mike Leach, because he did not coach blue blood programs. He was at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. Every one of those places is an outpost. He was a pirate by nature, was obsessed with pirate culture, and always had to be on the outside of it. He would never have fit in a blue blood program. There were a couple who knocked on the door for him. Nebraska did and Tennessee did. What I appreciated most about him from that standpoint is, in an era where we sit through press conferences and literally go, banging my head against the microphone, please say something, he said all of it.
Every time.
You could ask him anything, and he would answer it with a genuine affection for answering it, which was awesome. It was so much fun and so thrilling. I had so much respect for him, and I think a lot of people do, from the standpoint of you respect the hell out of anybody who is unapologetically themselves. He never changed, no matter where he went.
Yep.
Same dude. I know 1,000 people who coached for him, who have come through that tree or were influenced by him. And that's the last thing I wanted to say on it. He's primarily known for these clips. But the man was a football genius.
Oh, my goodness.
The air raid offense that he brought to Oklahoma
He was ahead
in
of his time.
1999. It started, so he comes up through Valdosta State with a coach named Hal Mumme.
Yeah.
Hal Mumme goes to Kentucky.
Yep.
They have Tim Couch at Kentucky.
Correct.
He was already there. Bill Curry had recruited Tim Couch. Mumme comes in. They light the SEC on fire.
Oh, my God.
Light it on fire. Leach goes to Oklahoma, becomes the offensive coordinator. He's there 1 year. They win it the next year running his offense. He then becomes a head coach at Texas Tech. Game changes everything. Becomes the most prolific offense in the Big 12. And if you're wondering where the influence is, it's everywhere. It's every NFL Sunday. It's every college football Saturday. It's every high school game. When I first started covering high school football in the South, all they ran was triple option.
Yeah.
Within 4 years, all they run is spread. There's not a high school team in the country at the highest level that's not running a variation of the air raid spread offense. We see it. Deshaun Watson ran this offense at Clemson. He ran similar versions of it at Texas. The concepts, I think you could argue Mike Leach and Mumme and some of those guys who brought that air raid out, I think it's right there with the West Coast and Bill Walsh when he comes to the impact it had on the sport. I truly believe it. So we laugh at all the fun stuff, and I think he would love nothing more than that. But behind all of that was also a football genius.
Yeah, he is fundamentally changed the way the game is played at multiple levels. And in fact, it changed the way that receivers are able to come into the league and be productive right away. It changed the way the quarterbacks are able to come in the league and be productive right away. Remember, it used to be you had to wait till a receiver's third year for them to be any good? Not anymore. It's because it's about this. Think about all the 7-on-7 camps and all of that, because it's all predicated on space, speed, and being able to diagnose and make good decisions and quick decisions with the football. It's why these quarterbacks are the way they are. Yep, like Mike Leach was an absolute pioneer. You go back like Air Coryell, with the Chargers and Dan Fouts. That was so ahead of its time in the league, but it didn't really take mainstream until it happened, in college. And then finally, I mean, it's been I want to say when the NFL did, probably did, it's been maybe the last 15 years at most that the NFL even started to get that stuff incorporated into the league.
Widespread,
Yeah,
like predominantly gun. Probably Manning with the Colts.
Rams.
Greatest show on turf, but
Greatest
that was
show
a
on turf?
totally different. That was Mike Martz. That would be like 5 down linemen, 4 receivers out, but he's under center a ton and a lot of different drop
Like predominantly gun, 4 and 5, 4 wide.
Yeah. The Greatest Show on Turf had some of the components.
A lot of people had the components of
but
it.
didn't do it the way they did.
And I don't even, I don't know if there's ever been, if they, like, obviously what Mahomes is doing now in Kansas City is the full on that, when he operates almost entirely out of the gun. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been in the last decade or so. I mean, you used to have to put quarterbacks under center 90% of the time and drop back and play action and all that. And that, the way they handled, the way that he was part of the guy, not just him, there were others. But that offense, you think about, you want the perfect example of the impact. Do you know who one of his first receiver was at Texas Tech? Wes Welker. So Wes Welker played at Texas Tech for Mike Leach. Did so with Kingsbury at quarterback and then Sonny Cumbie after it. He operated out of the slot, went undrafted.
Yep.
Wes Welker went undrafted. And then people said, well, wait a second. He goes to New England, and they go, the quarterback likes when this guy goes about 7 to 8 yards and gets open, makes one guy miss, and picks up 12. That's something that's pretty effective. If you have somebody who can go deep and go somebody down the slot at tight end. And then all of a sudden, like Cooper Kupp, what he did last year winning the Triple Crown is primarily doing those type of concepts. Catching on the run, getting into space, and making people miss. That's an air raid concept. The slot receiver is an air raid concept.
Yeah, especially that kind of slot receiver. And it was, you got to give Belichick credit, right, for
seeing it,
taking it, and you get Welker, you get Julian Edelman, you get Danny Amendola, all working in that offense. It is, it's incredible the difference in the way that we think about just the league in general, right? The slot receiver being so important, the slot corner getting paid a lot of money because now you have to deal with these slot receivers. It's guys who can operate in space, and just the notion of space as opposed to 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Now it's space, getting guys, athletes, making people miss, yards after the catch, all of those things. Yeah, totally change it. Short passes becoming long gains.
Mm-hmm. Passes is runs.
Passes run. Well, and it's a variation of the West Coast, right?
Sure.
Those were long handoffs in the West Coast and some of the same principles, but now just doing it, widening the field, making them defend everywhere.
He was the best. It's so funny. It's been a joy watching the clips go around. I'm guessing he's smiling about it because the stuff going around is the marriage one is unbelievable. The advice to the kid on marriage. The mascot one's unbelievable. There's so many good ones.
Like even this past season,
Oh,
he's walking down the sideline folding up all the chairs.
Yeah.
So no one can sit down when they
No
come
one
off
can
the
sit down.
field. No,
That's total character.
you're not
man.
doing that.
Total character. All right, lots to get to on the program today. Coming up next, we'll go around the league. One thought on every game. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. We're off and running here on a Tuesday edition. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 100 Elk, Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns as we head around the NFL landscape. I guess Odell Beckham Jr.'s knee is not right. I think that's probably a lock now as you see the Cowboys signing veteran free agent wide receiver T.Y. Hilton yesterday.
He also said, did Odell, that he doesn't see the point in playing in the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So if that's what you're saying, I'm going to just roll out there for you in the postseason and be full speed, ready to go.
Sure. Hard to imagine. At this point, probably just
what
sit
would
it
the
out.
risk be of that? Right.
Sit this out and try and show up next year in camp with some sort of health and hope for the best. I mean, that's probably the path for him.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
Because this was the place.
Yep.
I think he wanted to stay in L.A. more than anything else, but then they fell off a cliff. And so then this was clearly the place to go was Dallas. They're the closest. They obviously needed more help at receiver.
But here's the thing to me, okay? This is what and maybe he wasn't interested.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton could have helped this team. He knew Jacoby Brissett. We knew Anthony Schwartz wasn't the answer coming out of training camp. T.Y. Hilton could have helped us in those early games with Donovan and with Amari Cooper, and we never got him here.
No.
And we'll see. We'll see if he can do anything with the Cowboys. We'll see if he's got anything left. But he made some plays last year.
It's we talked about this a little bit yesterday with you brought up the Will Fuller. I mean, it was something that was as we were sitting in camp watching, saying it feels like another guy is here that is needed here. And we had Depot in here midway through the season. We've had AB in here and asked about, are you confident where you are at receiver? And the answer was yes, yes, yes. Well, it didn't materialize to that way.
No.
And I thought Bell would be able to give you more. But he's just not giving you – he's not someone who's can be counted. Not that he's been injured and all these things, but he's just not dynamic enough for what you need. What you needed was someone who could run a 9 route, man.
You need somebody who can go. Now, he made a lot of big plays, and you watch his college tape, he made a lot of big plays against guys that are playing in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure.
He hasn't run those routes here. I haven't really seen him run any vertical routes so far this season. So you don't know what that has to do with it. But the fact remains, this team has needed a vertical threat to create space for them. And look, we've been a explosive big play offense because of our play action shot play game and because of our ability to hit big plays on the ground. But there's no doubt that we wouldn't be better with a speedy receiver who was opening things up for everybody. And we just never got that. Now, we weren't going to pay $10 million a year. I mentioned Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He doesn't give them $10 million a year worth in Kansas City, but in terms of numbers, but maybe what he does, they consider to be that valuable. We didn't have the money to do something like that.
Yeah.
But you would have thought that once it was apparent, and I have to think that by the conclusion of preseason, it had to be apparent, despite everybody's hope against hope, that Anthony Schwartz was going to be the guy. He wasn't.
He was fighting the ball in camp.
Well, in the preseason, he dropped like 8 passes.
Right. I mean, you'd see it in camp where he would fight. It just wasn't natural. So there was something going on there, a long, long time ago. So, I mean, we mentioned T.Y. Hilton back in the – now, you can't force a guy to sign, but we mentioned that back in camp was one of the names we mentioned with Fuller, among others. So, Deshaun Jackson. We mentioned all those guys that can kind of do those things.
Deshaun Jackson, he's got the most 60-yard touchdowns in NFL history. Now he's with the Ravens. We'll see him. He's not playing a ton, but is making some plays for them.
You needed 10 routes.
Right.
a game.
That's all you need.
That's all you needed.
Yeah.
You didn't need it.
Yep.
You don't need a 10 target a game guy. You needed 10 routes. That's it. I mentioned the Cole Beasley coming out of retirement to sign with the Bills practice squad. He'll be elevated, I'm certain. In fact, Mike Garafolo, now that I see, he's saying that as well. Yeah, they don't have an intermediate pass game. No. And he knows the offense. If he's in great shape, I would imagine he could come in and help them right away to open that up. They're wildly inconsistent. Gabe Davis has been a disaster to try and own this year in fantasy. It's brutal. What do you do? Like it's
bench him.
3 catches, 160, and then the next time nothing. Like goes a whole game.
He has like 4 games that have accounted for all of his fantasy points. He's had 4 monster. And the hard part is you don't want to miss out on the monster game, but the rest of the time it's all pretty garbage.
Yeah, can't do it. Did you see this? Did you see the rookie linebacker for the Niners who picked off Brady, who Brady then signed his ball?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty high quality.
Listen,
it's a nice job.
You see that when he's out there, that's what it, for people, that's what the reverence for him. He is, he is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. And it's cool that he's comfortable doing that.
Yeah. And approachable enough that people think that they can even approach him with
To
that,
ask
which
it,
leads you to believe that his reputation is pretty sterling around the league.
No doubt.
That people love him, and the fact that you would have the cojones to go walk up to him and say, hey, can you sign this ball I picked off from you?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, you talked to like guys on our team.
We
wanted
had MJ in here
Yeah.
that week, and we were like, if you pick him, like, you're going to –
He's going to have like a shrine to it.
Right.
Like if anybody sacked him, they were going to make a whole thing
That's right.
to it. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It is. Deebo Samuel expected back during the regular season after suffering MCL and ankle sprains during Sunday's win over the Buccaneers.
They're trying to rush him back. They're going to get him hurt again, Nate.
I'm like that.
How about the fact that your dad and Jerry Rice are on the same page? I don't know if you saw that.
That he doesn't like the dives up the middle? Yeah, he was.
Stop
he sent
running it
to
up
me.
the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, he sent it to you?
Of course.
He's on Insta. He's worried about it. He's got Instagram?
He's all over the place. My dad gets he gets information from a variety of sources. But yeah,
Always reputable.
It's like he can't even appreciate Kyle at all. It's always complaints about Kyle. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think
You guys just rolled the Bucs with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I think he's the one true offensive genius in this league. I really do.
It'll be interesting to see what happens because McVay's a genius, and yes, they won a Super Bowl, but his teams always have a tougher time the last 6-7 games of a season. Kingsbury's teams
Always.
second half of the
he's
season
not in that
swilling,
league.
not
Yeah.
even close.
No.
But
McDaniel's
Kyle's the one that does it
struggling right now.
every single year.
Yeah, and he's never had the talent that McVay's had offensively in LA.
They're not bad.
They are now.
though, but not the quarterback.
Now, but years past.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
they're not. He's not. It's not Woods and Cup and Gurley
Gurley.
for crying out loud. I mean, and then into Stafford like
Pete
that.
Gurley.
That was not right. Pete Gurley was pretty ridiculous. Like it was. They never had those type of guys. You know. So
Yep.
I think that's the thing that always makes me look at Kyle and just go, "Jeez, it's pretty remarkable." It almost doesn't matter who his guy is. Speaking of the 49ers, Brock Purdy is day-to-day with an oblique ribs injury. Who would it be if he's not? Who else is on the roster?
Josh Johnson.
I was going to say there
Is
was
he
a
there?
guy. There was a guy with a JJ. Was the one thing I could remember. They signed him right.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah, they
Last week.
picked
He's
him
been
up
with
right
Kyle
away.
for 100 million years.
Okay. Hey, did you guys also see the NBA renaming all their awards? What's the reason for this?
I don't know. You still going to be irrelevant?
I just don't understand. Like
What do you mean?
it's the Michael Jordan MVP award now.
Okay, like it.
Yeah. So they renamed them all. So it's like the Jordan Trophy. Like, are they redesigning it to look like Jordan? Or is it going to be the same trophy? I would put a Jumpman on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled about that. Akeem Olajuwon, Defensive Player of the Year. The Wilt Chamberlain Trophy for Rookie of the Year. The John Havlicek Trophy for the Sixth Man of the Year. The George Mikan Trophy for the Most Improved Player.
Number one, I feel like
I
the
like the
defensive
names.
player of the year, if you're going to do anything, should be Mutombo waving a finger at you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not bad.
Akeem Olajuwon. That's not.
So they are redoing the MVP award, but this doesn't. Does that look like Jordan?
Looks like Kareem. Is it supposed to be like a front
Yeah, it
shot
almost
of
looks
him
like
doing this?
the beginning of a skyhook.
Yeah, it really probably should have been Kareem. He has the most MVPs. Yeah, I mean, forever it was like that guy doing the runner was kind of the deal.
So the logo doesn't get an award, huh?
Logo
Just
does
gets to
not.
be the logo.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
that's good. The logo's good. And I see people say we got to change. No, leave the logo alone.
Yeah, why
Leave
would you
the
change
logo's
the logo?
great. Oh, they like for Kobe or Michael or whatever. And even Jerry West said, "Look, do it for Michael or Kobe." And he's like, "No, it's the logo's the logo. It is known."
I mean, he didn't have the best performance ever on that show. Did
It
Jerry?
depends on your perspective. He was pretty dogged in his pursuit after they won the championship.
Yeah,
That was a pretty good performance. It seemed
that was
like.
phenomenal there.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
You could celebrate. There's no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Coming up next, what we learned from the Week 14. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by the Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the regular season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to clevelandbrowns.com. Time for one thought on every game. Hello, Gibby.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
Week 14
Yep.
in the National Football League. Putting it to
That's
bed.
right. That's right.
Don't worry, folks. Still 4 more weeks of the regular season left.
It's a long haul, man.
It is a haul.
It's a long haul. And
Indeed.
when you're, not technically, but virtually out of it, it's a slog, man.
Yeah.
A lot to watch here. A lot to take in over the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah. But, imagine if you didn't have the Watson intrigue, how tough this – I know you guys have lived through that, but, that's a tough spot, man, when you're just playing out the string in the National Football League through the holidays. Brutal.
All right, let's kick things off. Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers taking down the Miami Dolphins 23-17. Maybe it wasn't watched, but a lot at stake in this matchup. The Chargers go to 7-6, and the Dolphins drop to 8-5. 2-game losing streak out on the West Coast. Bishop, one thought from you.
I think the one thought is Mike McDaniel and his offensive genius was something that I still think is very real and tangible and long-term. But we see this every year that there is a start to figure out thing that happens once people get a little tape on you. And I think it's happening right now a little bit to him. I don't think it's coincidence that it's certainly it started with the 49ers, who would know him very, very well, and the way that they played those two receivers, and each other the Chargers tried to do a similar thing. So I think that this is a real critical time for the Dolphins in the next time out. I'm not even sure who they play, but they really need to get Tua back in rhythm with his receivers because they've been knocked off track the last 2 weeks.
Zagora?
What would the Chargers' record be if Bosa was healthy, if Slater was healthy, if their corners were healthy, if James
If they had a coach?
What would they?
See, that's why I don't know.
What would their record be?
I feel like they're going to be 10-7 no matter what.
I don't think you want to play them in the playoffs.
No, I saw it yesterday. Right now they're slated to play Kansas City. Like, I wouldn't want to deal with that if I'm Kansas City and I'm the 2 seed.
No, not at all.
So
yeah.
They don't equal the sum of their parts.
Nope.
Which is weird.
No, but they haven't had most of their.
That's true.
Their most valuable parts for a lot of this season, which is a wild thing. But that's how it is. Herbert's he is that good. I think that if his team was doing, they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think people forget that, and he played great in that game. But they didn't make the playoffs last year, and I think that is part of the reason why people have not really paid as much attention to him as making him a superstar like that. Allen, you have the crazy fans. They go on a nice run in the playoffs. They got to get to the playoffs, and then I think they have an opportunity for him to do some things.
The 49ers take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 35-7. San Francisco making that playoff push with the third-string quarterback. They go to 9-4. Tampa Bay just can't pull away here in the NFC South. They are 6-7. Zagura, one thought from you on this one.
Brock Purdy, incredible. First quarterback making their first NFL start to ever beat Tom Brady. He was 6-0 in such games prior to that. You feel bad about Debo, but this Niners defense is unbelievable. I said right. They haven't given up more than 17 in 6 straight games, and the Bucs offense looks atrocious.
Bishop?
Yeah, it's clearly done for the Bucs in terms of anything. I don't even know if they'll win the division. Carolina might get them. They're that bad. But I do think, the way that Brady looks now it feels there's no momentum for him to retire, right? And so if he plays next year, it clearly won't be there. So where is it? And what does it look like? You heard Simmons talk about going back to New England is a gift
right?
to Kraft. I have no clue. But, I didn't think he'd go to Tampa Bay when he went there. So I don't know. But you just wonder what it can look like.
That was stunning.
He mentioned that with Cousin Sal, too, on
Mannings
Sunday.
didn't push back on that as much as I thought they would have either.
I don't think they're in the business of, to your point earlier, of making news on anything. They just want to quickly get back to jokes.
Yeah.
Up next, somehow the Carolina Panthers have played themselves back into the playoff hunt. They take down Seattle 30-24. Seahawks drop to 7-6, and I feel like their season is quickly slipping away. Carolina 5-8. still can make the playoffs and win their division, and they're 1-5 away from home. Bishop, one thought.
This is the only game on this thing that I did not see a single solitary second of. Not 1 second of it. None. What I think you can say, though, and Seattle is probably the latest example of this, is that these teams that had a little bit of momentum early are reverting to who they are late. That's an inexplicable loss for them if they're to make the postseason. They've lost 3 of 4. They lost to the Bucs at home, the Raiders at home, beat the Rams, and then lost to the Panthers at home. To lose 3 out of 4 at home, and then they got the 49ers on a short week on Thursday. That thing is done. Cooked.
The Panthers are a good defense. Steve Wilkes is doing a great job, and you wonder, does he get the job afterwards, or is it going to be kind of what happened with the Raiders last year where Bisaccia leads them to the playoffs and then is ushered right out of town? Because is it a sexy hire? Probably not, but obviously he is good, and their defense is what's carrying the team. Defense running, and Sam Darnold, not so bad, Sam Darnold.
Up next, from the AFC West in Week 14, Kansas City continues to strengthen their hold on the division in their quest for that number 1 seed. They take down Denver 34-28. A little tougher for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs improved to 10-3. Denver 3-10. Zaguro, one thought.
The Chiefs have a problem of taking their foot off the gas.
Yep.
It has happened countless times throughout the last few seasons. Just go ahead and smoke somebody. Like, it's okay. You beat them 60-0. You beat them 60-0.
Hey.
But don't let them get back in because this game got a little bit testy. Yeah, 27-0. They had this one. Mahomes making ridiculous plays, and it feels like they're not even fully clicking on offense too. There were a lot of plays that were just missed. They are very good and very scary.
How about the reality of being like a Broncos fan and you've had to deal with all this Russell Wilson dread for the whole season, and then finally in Week 14 you see a glimpse of like old Russ. He was really good in this game. Then he goes down with a concussion, so he doesn't even get to finish the damn thing out. Like,
when he finally
that's how
good.
brutal that season has been for them. Mahomes with 3 picks in this game.
From the NFC East, Philly clinches a playoff spot. They down the New York Football Giants 48-22. Eagles now 12-1. Giants 7-5-1. And I keep saying it every week, but I still think there's a very good chance that neither team from New York makes the playoffs. Bishop, one thought from you.
Yeah, I was wait and see on Philly. Never really a hater, but you just want to see it. And we're not going to get a chance. I think they play the Bears this week, so their schedule is just really, really easy. But in this league, when you slump people week in and week out, that matters. There used to be a phrase, good teams win, great teams cover. Like, these dudes cover bigly, feels like every week. Every time I see a 7 with Philly, throw it. Throw the 7 because they're humming right now.
Beat people.
Yeah.
Giants are terrible, by the way.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts is a force. How about this? 10th rushing touchdown of the season, joining Cam Newton as the only quarterbacks in NFL history with 10 or more rushing touchdowns in 2 or more seasons. He's the first ever to do it in back-to-back seasons. Oh, and he can throw it to A.J. Brown, who's over 1,000 yards. Looks like Devonta Smith is going to go over 1,000 yards, and they're going to get Goddard back for the playoff run. They are a complete football team.
The Cowboys, meanwhile, in the NFC East, keeping pace with the Eagles, although, boy, they did everything they could to try to lose it. The Cowboys knock off Houston 27-23. Cowboys now 10-3. Houston 1-11-1. Zaguro, one thought.
This is why you can't take anybody lightly in the NFL. As bad as the Texans have been this year, the Cowboys obviously tried to sleepwalk through this game, and then they came in and they woke up and finally were able to pull it out and get the win at the end, but without a goal line stand. I mean, it was not easy for them, but good teams find a way, and bad teams also find a way to lose, and that Texans team feels like, unfortunately, some of the teams that we covered here for a few years in the mid-2010s that just, even when they were good and they did everything right, they still couldn't pull it out in the end.
Yeah, you just wonder, like, it does feel like this is really Dallas's maybe last best chance to win it all right now. Like, they're in this window here, and they've been hit by the injury bug in the secondary big, and they just feel like they're kind of limping along here. Like, you wanted them – they annihilated the Vikings. If you're from their perspective, you wanted them to stack a couple of those, and they just don't seem capable of it.
No, they do not seem capable of it at all.
To the AFC North we go, and the other two teams in our division, the Ratbirds down the Squealers, 16-14. Baltimore continues to find a way. They're 9-4. Squealers drop to 5-8. Bishop, one thought.
So it can, for me, it's both of these things for Baltimore. Like they have a ton of culture. They know how to win. Just think of the close games they have won this year. They beat the Bengals by 2. They beat us by a field goal. They beat the Bucks by 5. The Panthers 13-3. Broncos by 1. Steelers by 2. Like they win so many close games. Even their losses, they lost by 4 to Miami. They lost by 3 to Buffalo. They lost by 4 to the Giants, 1 to the Jaguars. Every game's close.
And they should have won that Jags game.
They should have. They're battle-tested. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The big thing, I think, though, in this game for them is they got Dobbins back, and he unlocked offensively for them. Like, if they can get Lamar back and Dobbins can finish out healthy, that's a dangerous thing.
If they win that Jags game, they would have won 7 in a row. Instead, it's 6 of the last 7. And then look at their defense. Since getting Roquan Smith in there, and they get Marcus Williams came back this week and got an interception. He's got 4 picks in 6 games this year. They've given up the last few weeks. They've given up 13-3, 28 to the Jags, and a weird one because they were shutting the Jags down for the majority of the game. 9-14. I mean, they are not giving up points. They've given up below 15 points in 4 of the last 5 games. They're a great defense. They've got, up front, Calais Campbell. They've got on the other side, Justin, I can't think of his name right now, Justin Houston, who's had terrorized us. He's having a great season. He's one shy of double digits. He's got 9 sacks on the year. Campbell's got 5.5. Campbell's next sack, by the way, the 100th of his career. They're just playing good football defensively because their offense has been dreadful. But they're a little bit of a dangerous team because the D is so good, but they have not been great necessarily scoring. But since week 9, the Baltimore Ravens defense has allowed the fewest rushing yards per game, the second fewest points per game, and the second fewest touchdowns since Roquan Smith's been there. 55 yards per game on the ground, just 13 points a game, and 6 total touchdowns allowed. I mean, they have been phenomenally good. They're good. Their defense worries me. They haven't given up a 100-yard rusher all year.
Who's got the better defense, 49ers or Ravens?
Niners.
Maybe. Ravens are good.
Ravens are good.
From the
AFC
Nike
boxes
East,
walk through?
Buffalo holds off the New York Football Jets. What is going on?
There's a lot of Nike boxes walking around.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Bring them to us.
I'd like a pair. Bills 20, Jets 12. The Bills go to 10-3. They find a way in their first game without Von Miller. Zagura, one thought.
Garrett Wilson is a stud and a star in the making, and we are just scratching the surface. He passed Keyshawn Johnson for the most receiving yards by a Jets rookie in history, 868 through Sunday. He's got games to go. I will say this. I've never seen a team love one quarterback and hate another quarterback more than they love Mike White and they detest Zach Wilson. It's like, is he going to get cut? Is Zach Wilson going to get –
I was trying to think of one similar where, like, the players just said, no, we're just not going to play for this dude. Yeah. On the other side of it, you see why Buffalo did the move for Beasley. They are pretty average offensively right now. Allen was asked post-game Sunday, and he said something to the effect of maybe this offense isn't as good as we all thought it would be. They have trouble in the elements. It's just the reality of it. And by the way, from a fantasy standpoint, they just absolutely suffocated you, whether it was Davis. James Cook was a positive pickup this week. A lot of people thought he was finally going to get going. Dalvin's little brother, 4 carries, 6 yards, didn't use him. Singletary did nothing. Allen did nothing. It was pretty brutal.
The crazy thing is, like, you wondered, was scheme and play calling matter? Daboll leaving, has that impacted that offense?
They kept saying Dorsey would be the same, no carryover. It's not.
It's not the same. The scheme is probably the same, but when you utilize how you set things up, the rhythm of your play calling is different, and clearly they are struggling. I mean, they're going back in the sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Beasley back, John Brown.
Oh yeah,
back. John Brown was their leading receiver when they played for Josh Allen in 2019 when they came here. Those are I think the top 2 receivers, in fact, were Brown and Beasley. So they're trying to just get anything going there. Davis, you wonder, he had a foot injury that was suffered after that Pittsburgh game and has never really kind of been the same since. And you wonder if he's playing through something that's limiting his effectiveness because he's not been effective.
All right, real quick from the NFC Norris division. Here come the Detroit Lions. Lions 34, Vikings 23, Detroit 6-7. Vikings fall to 10-3. Zagura, one thought.
The Lions are for real. Goff's playing the best football in his game. They've scored 25 or more points in 5 straight games. They are an elite offense, and they're just getting Williams going. All of a sudden, they got Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark. They should still have TJ Hawkinson. Again, one of the most stupefying trades I can think of.
Crazy.
Traded him to the Minnesota in their division.
Right.
And they have a chance now to go ahead, and they are in the playoff hunt. Vikings, Justin Jefferson is perhaps the greatest talent in the league right now.
There with Tyreek Hill.
I mean, I think he's going to win. I think the OPOY, I think that might come through for him. But their defense is abysmal.
Yeah, I gave you a lead on that defense about a month ago. We said it's just not very good. The Lions lost 6 of their first 7, have now won 5 of their last 6.
Yep.
That's the spot they're in. And I think Goff is making them have to seriously consider, because I don't think any of these quarterbacks are lock stocks. I would sit this one out at quarterback. I'd run it right back with Goff and amplify things around him. I think he'd win the division that way. I see no reason why he couldn't be Cousins for the Lions.
Throw a crazy thing out there. Why doesn't Tom Brady want to go to Detroit? You got weapons. You're in a dome.
Is he better than Goff?
I mean,
no, I understand, but at some point he's not. At some point he's 46 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that has to happen at some point.
Right.
Final one from the AFC South. Jacksonville 36, Titans 22. Don't look now. The Jags just 2 games out of first place in the AFC South. Bishop.
I think you'll look back on the Urban Meyer hire as one of the most egregious mistakes a franchise ever made with a young quarterback, and it pleases me to a great deal that Trevor Lawrence got right this season, because he's right now.
Mine was gonna be like Urban Meyer should be thrown in like football coach
Yes.
prison because of what he did. Like, he committed a serious crime against this team. Yeah, he is good. The Titans, it feels like this window is closed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to reopen again.
We closed it earlier, and then they cracked it back open. I think we could.
Just in general, they're no threat to win a Super Bowl.
No.
And they are going to only
They're
be
in
worse
purgatory
going
now.
forward. Yes.
Their ceiling has already been hit, and it's all downhill.
They really have been in purgatory all these years.
Yeah, I mean, there was fool's gold there, right?
They're the worst number 1 seed ever.
For sure, but they would do stuff like that, and you'd be like, well, maybe there's a path, run it with Henry, A.J. Brown. And
then they said, no, we don't need A.J. Brown.
We don't need him. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite 4-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. We'll head to the podium coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services is always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, they're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today for more. Do you remember yesterday when Hoff told the story of we've got to adjust on the offensive line with Watson?
Right, in terms of how they block. Yes, I do.
Yes, how to avoid the holding penalties.
Sure.
That was everyone, more than every once in a while. But when you have the Hoff on, you get these Hoff moments.
These nuggets.
You're like, oh, that's a gold jacket on that one. That one makes sense. Interestingly enough, probably not by coincidence, Jack Conklin was asked exactly that. Good job out of our media listening to the Hoff when he speaks. So here is Conklin talking about that at availability.
It's tough. I mean, I had similar type of thing in Tennessee when I played with Marcus Mariota. It was another similar. He was a guy who was mobile and get moving out of the pocket, and it's definitely it's a little bit different mindset. You just got to be aware. I mean, it's tough anytime you're sitting on a block, and it's hard for an offensive lineman to know when the quarterback is leaving the pocket. When to let go. So a lot of times it's kind of on a feel thing. It's kind of if you can feel his presence taking off, you just got to know you got to let go. And it's definitely an adjustment, but it's usually, and I think usually the referees give you a little bit of a grace period because they do know it's if your hands are inside and you are attempting to let go. I mean I would say it's more of the act of pulling him in when you know the quarterback's out. That's where you usually would get the flag. So it's definitely something that we're working on as an offensive line. It's definitely something in the back of our mind that we need to be aware. Hey, if he takes it out, he's on his own. We got to let go.
Yeah, Joe even mentioned that's in his notes, to read before. That would be in the notes.
Before you go out there, right? You got to make sure that you're doing what you need to do and understanding the circumstances around, reading the cues of the defense player. As soon as he pulls away from you, got to let him go. Now, savvy defense players might pretend they're doing that, and you stop blocking them, and then they go get a sack. But that's a little bit of the give and take, and that's one of the changes for the Browns now that we are in this era of having a quarterback who can make a lot of plays and extend a lot of plays with his leg.
You mentioned this yesterday in the show, talking about, in the run game, why it hasn't been consistent and that there is a lot of layers for that. And you look at the film, Jake Burns did a great job breaking down some of the misses that are happening up front. One guy misses something, everybody else does the right thing. One guy misses it, and it sets everything off. Conklin addressed that as well.
I think it comes down to us. We got to finish drives. Anytime you start falling behind, the run game kind of it's off the table. It's what eats up the clock, and you got to throw to catch up like that if you want to save time, and especially when we get down multiple scores, you really can't get in a rhythm. And the run game is more of, it's something that is built. You don't just set the table at the beginning with the run game. It's with most teams, when you start seeing big runs, it comes in the end of the third or fourth quarter when teams are getting tired. And when we build ourselves a whole, you really can't get to that point. And I think that really comes down to us being able to sustain drives and finish drives, and we haven't been able to do that.
No, they have not.
No, and that's been one of the problems. And when you run into teams that are finishing their drives with sevens and you are not, that makes it difficult to win. And this is going to be a tough team. Now, this is a game, if you look at the points we talked about, the Ravens are giving up. Threes are okay in this game. They've got the best three-point shooter in the league in Justin Tucker, who, by the way, just had his streak snapped a couple of weeks ago of those consecutive makes at the end of a game when he tried the 67-yarder, which would have been a career-long against the Jags, and he did not make that. But he had been spectacular, and it's hard to even count that one on him, you know what I mean? But that's the way that it will show up in the stat sheets. But just real quickly, because the number is staggering, if I can, here it is. His streak was 82 consecutive second half and overtime field goals without a miss from November 19th, 2017 to November 27th, 2022, when he missed a 67-yard field goal attempt at Jacksonville.
He good.
82 in a row in the second half and overtime. Unreal.
Yeah. Amari Cooper battled on Sunday to play. He was available and talked today about the idea of having to fight through that injury. Here's Amari.
Yeah, it's getting better. It's just a part of, playing football in this league. Obviously it was a hindrance anytime you're not 100%. But, you just fight through it and try to be available for your team.
And he did. He did fight through it. You could tell he wasn't the same. He is somebody who would have a very good idea of the improvement that we all saw in Deshaun Watson. That was something that's really tired yesterday. I listened to a lot of NFL stuff talking about how Watson was bad in the game. It just was not a reality in any way. I don't know that a lot of people watched it. that we're saying that, because if you watched it, I don't know how you could have that conclusion on it. He made leaps and bounds in improvement from week 1 to week 2 for Watson. Here's Cooper on that improvement.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, it's just, obviously getting that rhythm back. Obviously, the timing with us, the receivers, pass catchers, because, he just hasn't had that many reps with us. And, obviously, like I said before, the more reps he gets with us, the more reps he get in the game, that'll help with his rhythm and timing.
It's funny when you hear him talk about the reps, you think back to thinking that the suspension was going to be one where there would be a bye week and then come back, that it would time out that way. That could have made the difference in all of this. Like all of those reps in there. I mean, the amount of games, all of it.
I said it. We were given a great, great, great disservice when the league overruled a federal judge and turned it from 6 to 11. That certainly hurt the Cleveland Browns. One thing that's interesting is it feels like with Donovan Peoples-Jones, you've seen a great rhythm now. 15 targets, 11 catches, over 150 yards in the 2 games. For Amari, though, 16 targets with Deshaun Watson, only 6 catches for 82 yards. So they have not gotten into their groove yet, and that's something that the Browns certainly will need. Now, part of that could be the hip injury for Amari Cooper last week. 7 targets, 2 catches, 42 yards. But we got to get him back to the levels that he had been producing prior to Deshaun taking over.
All right, let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Greg Newsome, one of the things that was very evident after the game on Sunday, you pointed this out yesterday, Myles Garrett's leadership, the things that he had to say afterwards. It was great to hear him say that. Greg Newsome paid attention as well. Here's Newsome on Garrett's message.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows, that he cares about the team. It just shows that, we're in a never give up mentality. Like, we're going to give it our all every single game. We're fighters out here. No one's in the building is, moping around or, giving up. We're still going to go out there, play our hearts out and, see what can happen at the end of the season.
Yeah, and certainly so. Speaking of Newton, the challenges this week, we don't know who it's going to be. Probably could be Huntley, could be Brown, doesn't matter.
I think it's going to be Huntley, yeah.
They're going to run the system that they run. Dobbins will be the key to that thing if they can try to keep him wrapped up a little bit. Here was Newsome on the challenges of facing this Ravens offense.
I wouldn't say it's too much of a challenge. I feel like, their quarterbacks all kind of, do around the same thing. Like, they're not going to really change the offense, as much as we've seen in the past. We played them last year where they didn't have Lamar and kind of kept the offense, pretty similar. So I wouldn't say it's, too big of a challenge. At the end of the day, we just got to, whatever the game plan is, do our job and, try to be as successful as we can.
They're in a weird spot because let's just be candid. The all anyone's going to be watching these last 4 games are Watson in the offense.
Yep.
I mean, the defense, it's there, and it's been ups and downs, and it's been mostly better of late. But it'll really be the Watson side of this that everyone's paying attention to the last 4 games.
Yeah, but I think this defense is playing for quite a bit as well in terms of what that defense is going to look like in 2023 from a variety of standpoints. So I think that it does matter. And for guys like Greg, MJ, you'd love to see him get their first interceptions. I think that's something that's kind of like hanging over Greg a little bit. You saw him drop the one in Houston. And so you want to see those guys get those things so they can kind of just take that mental thing off of their plate and focus on playing football.
How many do we have as a team?
We got one last week, so that's 6 now. That's it.
Just hasn't happened.
No, and the Ravens, for example, have 14 who we are playing this week.
8 game-changing plays more.
Yeah.
Game-wrecking plays, potentially.
Yep.
More.
Well, that's why their record is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things that the boxes you have to check to be a winning thing. It just none of them have been. Browns fans, skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy Life Not Laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the entire month of November. Just mention promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location to you. Some exclusions may apply. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bath Authority gives you the bathroom of your dreams in about a day, my friends. You can transform your current bathroom into a custom bath that'll feel like a spa. Let the Bath Authority make it real for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler, experts and factory-trained installers. You give them a call now, you get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number's 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects are all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding in about a day. Acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat in. Tub to shower conversions as well. If you need them, they got them. Superior products and expert installers at the Bath Authority. 216-220-8399. 4 games left. Here's where we sit in the National Football League. Your current playoff picture. I'll tell you what. You want to talk about your fortunes changing in about a millisecond. It reminds me a little bit about Georgia having to play Ohio State. In the playoff. Like, this doesn't seem right. We're the 1
Rough
seed.
for them. Sure.
Kansas City, because Buffalo has the tiebreaker over them, is currently the 2 seed. So Buffalo would be the 1 if the playoffs started right now in the AFC. Kansas City's the 2. Up until New England won yesterday, they were playing the Chargers. Once New England wins, they're playing New England. The difference in that is the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, massive difference. And that's the wild nature of this tightly bunched group right now. When you got 3 teams at 7-6 in the AFC right now, only one of them is in, and then there's a big gap. It feels it's a long shot for Jacksonville or Vegas or the Browns or Pittsburgh, obviously, to make it in. But there's a 3-team race. It feels like, can the Jets hang on? The Chargers are definitely the best and the one team that nobody wants to see, I would think, of those 3 in the AFC.
No, everything that could go. Including with you losing, you being us.
Yep.
Everything else that could go wrong did. New England won. The Chargers won. They both have your tiebreakers. They have got to get to 9 losses before you could get in with 8 because of the tiebreakers. So
yep.
That was where you sit there. So right now the Chargers are on the outside looking in. So Kansas City would be the 2, New England would be the 7.
Yep.
The 3-6. Miami is the 6. Baltimore is currently the 3. Baltimore's schedule is really manageable.
It's hard to see them being any worse than 11-6.
Yeah. So the question is, can Cincinnati
usurp them?
Usurp them. 11-6. They will then. One of those has to be a win over Baltimore.
That's right.
To get rid of the tiebreaker, and then Baltimore would still probably have a better division record than Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's lost to us and Pittsburgh and Baltimore in the division.
Right.
So they really need to finish 12-5.
And they get Pittsburgh and Baltimore again. Now,
and Buffalo and Tampa Bay, right?
If Baltimore beats us, that would give them, I think, Baltimore would have, because they just need to get to the most that the Bengals get to in the division is 3.
Yeah.
They've beaten the Bengals. They've beaten the Browns. They beat the Steelers. So if they can win one more of the last 3 division games, they would have the division tiebreaker.
Yeah. So Cincinnati needs to finish a game ahead of Baltimore.
That's right.
To be able to be in that 3 spot and win the division.
Do you want to be that way? Because Cincinnati right now, I know you'd be on the road, but
they know to beat
would you
Tennessee.
Would you rather go play at Tennessee?
Yeah, you'd rather play Tennessee than Miami or the Chargers.
For sure. Yeah. The same thing is happening in the NFC when we get over there. The bottom could be where you want to avoid a little bit. Well, not exactly as bad. The AFC is far worse. Tennessee and or Baltimore sitting there at 3 and 4. Like, you're doing an AFC power ranking. Let's say this is the AFC playoffs. Most likely to win the Super Bowl, I would go Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Miami, Baltimore, Tennessee, New England.
I put the Chargers even ahead of Tennessee.
Well, but I'm saying they're not in.
People that are in.
I'm saying of the teams that are in.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That order?
Yeah. I mean, you could debate on whether or not some people would still like Buffalo, but yeah, I think Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo are the top 3. Miami, Baltimore would be the next 2, and then the bottom 2 would be Tennessee and New England.
Yeah, and Baltimore, it really depends on Lamar.
Of course, you need him to be healthy,
which
he should be for. He should be for the playoffs.
Yeah, you'd think. So that's where you stand right now in the AFC. By the way, remember, Buffalo still plays Cincinnati. They play second to last week. Cincinnati closes with Buffalo and Baltimore. So that could theoretically be for the AFC and then for the division in back-to-back games. They could get the tiebreaker back. They'd have the tiebreaker over Buffalo if they had the same record with a win, and then they would have a chance probably in the last game of the year. I can't imagine it doesn't come down to that.
Oh, it's going to come down to that.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's going
That's
to be
a lot.
I would say
right?
It's the odds-on favorite to be Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Game
that
number
should be
258, I believe.
It should
the
be
final
for
game of the
for the AFC North. Yeah, should be. In the NFC, Philly, it's done, running away from it. If you look at their remaining, they play Chicago this week. They're going to go 13-1.
Yep.
It's hard for me to imagine them any worse than 15-2. I mean, maybe they lose to Dallas, but the rest of it is nothing, right? Don't they play like Philly again, Washington again? Maybe even the Giants. It's
not a hard schedule.
No, it's really crazy. They're so great. They have been so great, but this is one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen in the league. The schedule that Philly has, and some of it's just bad luck. Like teams that you thought would be good were good.
Correct.
It's hard to wrap your head around, but they're going to be the one. I see no path otherwise. The 2 right now is Minnesota. They're pretty feckless as a 2. They're not very good defensively at all. They are 10-3 with a negative point differential.
Yep, but they're scary offensively.
They can be. Jefferson's a game wrecker, obviously. They're the 2 seed. I think clearly the second best team in the NFC is San Francisco. Even with Purdy, they are the 3 right now. The 2-7 game would be Minnesota and the Giants. The question is, can anybody catch the Giants? So they're 7-5-1. The teams in high-speed pursuit are Detroit at 6-7, Seattle at 7-6. Seattle's going the wrong way.
Yes,
it feels like only Detroit.
And they get the
catch
Niners
them
this week. On
yeah,
Thursday
so they'll
night.
go to 7-7. So it feels like the only team that could catch them is Detroit, but they have a 2-game lead in the loss column.
They do, and that's going to be a tough one for the Lions to make up that ground. Now, the interesting thing in this one is that if you're the Cowboys, you're in the catbird seat. You're going to be the 5 seed, and you're going to get Tampa, and Tampa has been dreadful. But you also are scared to maybe take on Tom Brady.
It's just the Brady mystique that's still there, right?
They could end up being Carolina, though, for all we know.
Is there?
Carolina beat them head-to-head.
Are we putting the Packers to bed, out to pasture? Their final 4 games: home for the Rams on Monday night.
Okay, 6-8.
At Miami.
Okay.
Home for the Vikings. Home for the Lions.
So they'll be favored in
2.
Yeah, for sure 1, but maybe not any more than that.
Yeah. I think they're out to pasture, buddy, because you're talking about a 3-game difference in the loss column between them and the Giants, who are the worst of the 2 wild card teams in the NFC East. Washington 7-5-1.
That tie could actually save the Giants in that situation.
I mean, I could see the Giant. I'd have to look at the Giants' schedule here to close it out to see, where they stand on it. But they would have to lose. Would they have to lose 3 of their next 4?
The Giants?
Yeah, they'd have to.
They suck.
I understand that, but they only have 5 losses. Green Bay has 8.
So the Giants' last 4 games: at Commies, at Minnesota, home for the Colts, at Philly.
They'll be favored in one of those.
They'll beat. They should beat Indy at home. That might be all they'll need.
And Philly,
they might rest.
They might rest people.
I don't think you would, though. If you're the 1 seed, you don't want to rest 2 weeks, do you?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't think.
It hasn't
I think
worked
you
out
want
well in the past. Yeah, if you're in a
I don't
groove.
I don't like 2 weeks off. I don't like that at all. Carolina could catch Tampa Bay. They're 5-8. Tampa Bay is 6-7. Both of these, Carolina's at least kind of sort of head in the right direction. Tampa Bay is a disaster.
Yeah, I think Peter King said it yesterday. If they win out, and Tampa loses 1 more game, Carolina wins the NFC South.
Well, let's do the schedule game for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has at their Cincinnati at home. That should be a loss. They're at Cardinals. Who knows what that could be? I think they'd be favored in that game, maybe minimally. Then they play each other the second to last week, and then they're at the Falcons.
By the way, that Cardinals game's Christmas night, I believe.
It is 8:20. That is
Ugh.
brutal. Carolina, it feels like Tampa Bay will at least win one of those last 4 to me. Carolina's last 4 are Steelers at home this week, then they're Lions at home, then at Bucks, at Saints. So they need to if Tampa Bay wins 1, then Carolina needs to win 2 to have the same record in the division, and they would have the tiebreaker because if one of those wins is over Tampa Bay, if they have the same record, Carolina would get in.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's where you're at. That's the league right now, man. The
is.
bottom of the NFC is brutal.
Bad.
The idea that the Los Angeles Chargers with all that talent currently are out, and teams like the Giants and the Redskins or the Commies, potentially Carolina, those teams could be in.
He is wild, yeah.
Fans, mark your calendars. Face Off on the Lake, presented by Meyer, the first major outdoor hockey game at First Energy Stadium. February 18th, the Buckeyes and Wolverines at First Energy Stadium. For a limited time, purchase 4 tickets for $50 in the mezzanine level. For more information, visit firstenergystadium.com/faceoff or call 440-891-5050 for more. A little bit of higher, lower, better, worse coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Quite like tailgating touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea. You know why? Because it's made with real brewed tea. Cool, refreshing, and a 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and goal. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea. Keep it twisted. Time for a little higher lower, presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from the Ohio Lottery. Reminds you to set time and spending limits when you gamble. AP is here in studio. Good to see AP. How you doing?
Yo.
I'm doing great. Happy to be back after a week or 2 week hiatus.
Hiatus.
We
week.
miss you. You miss
Yeah.
a week. You miss a lot.
That's right.
It felt like a lot. It's
We
felt
missed
like
you.
a lot. I'll
He
say
got
that.
the trivia flu.
Was it a beatdown on your end?
No.
Segura has been waiting weeks
I was gonna
for
say
this.
it took less than 7 seconds for you to bring.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Was
I'm
it
not
a
surprised.
No, come on.
Should have made a
defeat?
bet
Is
on
it-
that, Gibbs.
Yeah.
Is
on
it-
brand. Sure. Easiest bet of the century.
Yeah.
So it was on the plane, flight down to Houston, long flight, and 3 categories only. They need more categories,
They
to be
need
honest.
way
Yeah.
more categories.
Food, geography,
Okay.
and general knowledge.
Which really wasn't. It didn't feel like it was
No.
general knowledge that
and
much.
and
What
most-
was it?
It was just it could be anything.
No, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So was it general knowledge? AP said it didn't feel like general knowledge.
I'm
I
trying
mean,
to
it's very
remember
specific
They were
knowledge. I
forgettable
would say that.
questions.
Yeah, they were like very crazy. And geography was it was good. So we did a best of 7.
Okay.
I won the first one. I was feeling good. AP got hot. And some of it you had a great string of you knew a lot of stuff in geography.
I did get lucky though.
but you had a
to-
great string of guessing. Because like part of the thing was there were some that you've never even no chance you've ever
Yeah,
heard of it.
you're just guessing.
And so you're trying to eliminate 2 and then give yourself a 50-50
Yep.
shot at it. And AP was red hot, so he was up. He wins 3 in a row. So now I'm down 3-1.
3-1, like the Cavs.
Like the Cavs. And then
The rally.
the rally came. And in fact, I think on one of them on the last question, you got me on a last question, and then I think I got you on a last question.
Yeah, it was back and forth. Just about every single round on that plane ride down was
yeah.
got down to like the last last question or 2, I think. And you're missing an important part of
Oh,
this.
good.
So
Yeah.
you get points based on how
Yeah,
quickly
quick.
you also identify the question.
Oh, it's like Jeopardy. Like, oh, yeah,
Or
I
the
remember
answer.
that.
Sure,
Yeah,
right.
Standard.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why I point that out is because I've thought about this a lot, Nathan.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I struggled so much is because that concept of the points got in my head. I was trying to be very quick to answering it, because especially on the questions that were about like wine and things like that, and because I knew you were going to get those pretty quickly. So but it got to my head. And so next time we have a chance, I'm going to keep that in mind.
You're going to
and I
stay
think-
steady.
A little steady.
I think I'm going to bounce
Stay
back.
steady.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce back.
Well, there was also, I'm glad you mentioned that. So it was also like you were quick, but if you grazed the screen,
Oh, yeah.
it could like call that an answer. Even if you didn't hit one of them,
Sure.
it would just put that one right on the top. And so we had Beijing Gate, which was a very
Contentious.
it was contentious. So this isn't like game 6 maybe. And I was in a good spot at the time, but it was in game 6. Argentina scored again, 2-0. I forget. Okay, turning it off.
Shut it down. So
Where one of them was in what city did the Tiananmen Square episode take place?
Yep.
And of course I knew it was Beijing, but I must have somehow hit the thing, and so it gave me A, which was not Beijing. And I turned around, I'm like, I know this one, it's Beijing. Wouldn't give it to me. He said the score is the score.
No, the score is the
Yeah,
score.
I said,
That's
you
right.
want to win that
'Cause
way?
I could come up with that excuse on any other
Yeah,
question.
but I said it immediately.
I do side with him on
I
that.
know, it's fair.
Like, it's fair.
It's still
like,
fun to
these
complain
are the,
about.
These are the rules of the game.
And then you also said the same, which this I actually would give you credit for. But when the flight attendant came by and was like, if they're handing something out and they're in your way, there's nothing.
I
you
was
can do.
delayed by that day. He had like minions working at his behest. The
Oh my
flight
God.
attendants
No,
throwing
no,
stuff
that
at me,
wasn't me.
and I'm like, but I gotta get in here. So I come back, 3 in a row.
Yep.
Win in pivotal game 7. Did a little Ric Flair down the aisle, much to the chagrin of some people aboard the flight.
You won't be doing that again. Let's just say that.
Commander Heatherly called no joy.
No joy. Yeah, no, ridiculous. It was great. It was like a 2-second woo. That was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Very disturbing.
And then on the flight
Was
back,
it 2 seconds, AP?
It was like 12 seconds.
Thank
but,
you.
You know.
I mean,
It
still
was
not
halfway
long.
down the.
It wasn't
was
long.
halfway down the walkway.
Yeah.
So, and then on the way back, we had it going.
No
And then I
peacocking?
think he was.
Why can't you peacock?
Of
Who gets
course.
hurt?
Come on.
It's
We're in
float
our own
down.
section.
Live a little bit.
Live a little bit.
Nobody
So,
gets hurt.
Way back though, then we went for the rematch, and he was rattled. He was rattled. Clean sweep, get the brooms out,
Yeah, it's done.
and that was it. But I think you'll be back. You're formidable. You're formidable. The other benefit was it turns out 2 times through, like there were we knew a lot of them. Like I would say out of the 10, it was like
Oh, it's not a
3
big
repeats.
catalog.
So then that
We
would
had
have
repeat
been
questions.
like that's
Yeah.
that's pure speed.
I hope we don't
and
get
memory.
the repeats on the next time.
No,
that
you don't
happens.
even listen. We need pop culture.
We need a bigger
We need
catalog
bit
of questions.
Sports.
Yeah,
We need
there was
yeah.
no sports questions.
Very
That's crazy.
few.
How do you not have
Yeah.
sports and trivia?
No.
and
like
not
the
even
one
in general knowledge.
Semi pop culture one was about some Jason Alexander movie called like North to Alaska, which I'd never even heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no point of reference on that.
Yeah. No, must have been a flop.
Yep.
Anyway,
Hello, Gibby. Hello,
got a
Gibby.
game.
Hi.
on to better or worse.
Actually, it's called Higher or Lower. It's presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from the Ohio Lottery, who reminds you to set
Cigar
time and spending
82.
limits when gambling. Thanks for reading over the sponsor
Two's
read.
good.
Let's get right into it.
I'm better.
Compliments of our good friends at ESPN.com and the ESPN NFL Nation crew.
You
We
were better
kick
than
things
everybody
off-
else who played, by the way.
What?
You beat
Are you
everybody
running your own
else.
show? You want your own segment here?
Yeah, it'd be great.
It was a two-headed.
By the way,
horse.
Croatia's losing.
Just needles you.
That'll shut you up.
By the way, if you were listening to us,
We
I
need
literally just said
Sure,
Argentina
turn it off.
2-0. We're turning it off.
We need the hot button that
I know. I'm
says
just going to keep bringing it up.
Commander Heatherly called no joy.
We need other hot buttons, and that's how I end up with my pants on.
Same. That is needed too, yeah. Go ahead, Gibby.
Gibby really said that on the show, AP.
Wow.
Out loud.
It was said.
That's.
It is not.
I'm
That's
glad it
because
wasn't when
there
I was
was-
on the show.
There were things being talked about that led to poor decisions down the stretch.
That's right.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I do.
Neither do I.
All right. The Cleveland Browns are 24th in the ESPN Power Poll for Week 15. In front of them, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Squealers. Behind them, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Cardinals. AP, Browns, higher, lower, or just right?
I think this is appropriate. I think it's appropriate when you rank them too among the 7, 5, and 8 teams. I think those are just about all the teams you rattled off there. They're ranked number 6 among those 7 teams, and I think that fits. I mean, it hasn't come together for this team, obviously. And I can't see how you can make a strong argument for any of the other teams that are on the list in front of them here. This is just where they fit. This is where a 5 and 8 team belongs, and I don't see the point of necessarily trying to say that they're at 22 or 21. They've won back-to-back games once all year. It's not a winning formula. So.
Here's the thing that I think has been interesting from my end on this is, like, you lost to one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and I know they didn't have all of their guys.
Sure.
And I'm not going to sit here and make an argument because who really gives a damn if you're 24 or 18? It's not good. But one thing that I do find that's interesting is it feels like it's an equal amount of outrage if you lose to the Bengals or the Ravens with Lamar as there is when you lose to the Jets up 13. Like, those things aren't equal to me. You lost to a Super Bowl contender at their place. Like, did they have all of their guys? No, but they still have a top 3 quarterback in the league. They still have one of the greatest weapons on the outside, and their defense is really, really good. So I'm not going to argue about where they are, but the outrage of some of the losses is odd to me. Like, the New England loss at home is the one that set me over the edge.
That was
That's
a
the one
beating.
where you just went, what? How's that possible to show up like that? Losing to Cincinnati in Cincinnati? You
We
know.
lost to Baltimore in Baltimore.
Right.
lost Cincinnati and
But
Cincinnati.
you should lose those
Yeah,
games.
But it was the Jets. It was the Chargers. It
Yeah.
was, the
the
opportunity.
Patriots' performance was just
the Dolphins' performance.
yes. Just come on.
Yeah.
That was it.
Those were the signs. Yeah.
The Bills. We should have won that game against the Bills. I'll be honest with you.
Next,
Higher or lower?
the Eagles are number 1. The Chiefs are number 2. Buffalo at number 3. Bo Bishop, higher, lower, or just right?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to step on something you have going on here. I don't think I am. I'd have Cincinnati 3. I would have them ahead of Buffalo. They're better than Buffalo right now. They beat Kansas City head-to-head 2 weeks ago, and were pretty solid in the fourth quarter, closing that game out. If you want to have them behind Kansas City because of one more loss, fine. But they've won 6 in a row now. I would have Cincinnati higher than Buffalo. I think you'd have them higher than Kansas City as well. So that's my biggest beef. So I guess in order to do that, I need Buffalo to drop, so lower or worser.
Zagura.
Yep, they are worse. Bengals up, Niners up. Let's go.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, number 4 is Dallas. Number 5, Pedro, not Pedro. Zagura, higher, lower, or just right for the San Francisco 49ers that don't play in San Francisco?
They are better, as I just alluded to. Bengals up, Niners up, they're up. Buffalo Bills down. I'll take the Niners over the Cowboys right now, as a matter of fact, as well. So I think the Bengals you could slot in at like 3, Niners 4, Bills 5, Cowboys 6 is how I'd say.
I'm a little worried that we're really hyping up Mr. Purdy after one start.
I was about to
it's
ask
more
guys
about the guy
that.
that you've got on the hot seat. It's more about his genius.
I think it's a combination of that system, Debo and McCaffrey,
No
the
Debo now,
defense,
though. Yep.
but he'll come back.
Sure.
The defense is elite,
The defense.
and also the NFC. You know, I mean, if San Francisco played Buffalo right now, I think they'd be favored.
Against, you
I
think
do.
so?
Yeah. If it was at home, I mean, for sure. If it's
I'm
at home,
kind of saying what Gibbs is
Dude.
saying. That's a lot of faith in Brock. I know it's 2 good games, and it's very
it's
remarkable.
not about
but,
him though. It's about the
It's about
the
what
system.
it is, and he
But when it
goes
gets-
where it's supposed
But
to
now
go.
that there's tape,
Right, and when it gets this late in the season and the playoffs, it does become about like the quarterback experience things. And he's Mr. Relevant, and he's got 2 games, and yes, they're good games. But
Smoke
you
Tom
think
Brady.
that's gonna like keep up? I'm not saying they're still not a top 5 team because I do think they're a top 5 team. But I don't know if I would pick them over the Bills. Is all I'm saying.
the Bills
AP
seem a little.
Buffalo's got
they,
issues
there's some,
right
they
now.
seem a
It's
little
not right.
fractured.
They're not right.
Yeah,
Buffalo.
but I hear you. That's a fair argument.
Would you have the 49ers higher, lower, or just right, AP?
I had him as just right, and I think you can even make an argument to be worse. Even with the way Brock Purdy has played, I just don't see how that's going to be a sustainable. That production is going to be sustainable because, like you said, there's tape. It's impressive 2 games, but this is still the first 2 starts of his career,
He's
or first
really-
2 games of his career.
I mean, you're right. I mean, he was a kid but it's not like this is someone without talent. I mean, he held an Alabama scholarship offer. He was at the Manning Passing Academy as a high school kid. Like, you know, things didn't go well at Iowa State at the end, and sometimes you don't test well at the combine. I'm not suggesting he's going to be Tom Brady,
Right.
But he's also not Bailey Zappi.
Right, but you're ranking him with Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and then you get to Brock Purdy. It's like, do you really think that that's going to be a sustainable? I mean, maybe it will be. We'll see. But for now, history says that it's going to not be. So
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, number 6, the Vikings. Number 7, Bengals. Number 8, Miami Dolphins. AP, lead us off. Higher, lower, or just right for the Dolphins?
no, I think this is higher, better. I'd take them over the Bengals and Vikings right now, and I think you can make an argument more.
What? Over the Bengals?
Careful, Bishop. Bishop,
Yes.
don't go dying out.
I would still take. Look,
He almost died. I think he almost.
Weren't you in Cincinnati?
yes, yes, yes,
You were there. You were on the flight,
Right.
right? You saw him.
yes.
Did you see him last week against Kansas City?
I am willing to give them a pass on these
They
2
played
games.
without
I think they're going to.
2,000 yards of receiving offense,
Yes.
and they whipped us.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Did you see Miami the last 2 times out?
I did see Miami, and I also understand that they were on a West Coast trip, and it wasn't a favorable time. Now, I'm not saying this is the main excuse, but I don't see they've still got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like, you look at the guys they have on offense, I think they're
AP,
going to
this
turn
is why
around.
you're so
Mr.
good on
Bishop.
this
Did you?
segment.
Did you? Let me ask you a question. Question for AP. You just mentioned the big Brock Purdy issue. You know, you're going to need quarterbacks. You got to beat quarterbacks. Tua, Burrow.
Yes, Burrow. You're right.
Okay.
I'm not.
The
I'm not
One
that
little
crazy.
thing. Let me just say
It
this.
will be a good game.
There is one injury that is not really getting talked about out of Cincinnati. They just put Trey Hendrickson on IR.
I saw.
Wow.
Wait, when was that?
I
Did I
think
miss
last night.
Oh, it was last night.
He got. I
Broken
remember him
hand
coming
or
off.
broken-
He came off the field and right away in that second quarter.
He and Hubbard are a great tandem, but they don't really have a third.
No.
So that'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, Cincinnati, the Natty.
All right, final one.
I got bonus.
Better or worse?
Man, Bishop almost died there.
I know.
Does
Has that
almost
happened-
look like
has that
almost
happened
looked
before?
like,
No, no.
that almost looked
No.
like the NFL
broke-
And we
combine
found
and,
out.
broke bow.
We found out about a lot of things in real time on this show that none have elicited that reaction.
No,
before.
not quite
Even
like
things
that.
were.
Well, to be fair,
shocking.
Wednesday night tape, I wasn't drinking water as that was being dropped.
But
Wednesday night tape.
that
What about
almost was the shrimp
the other-
cocktail debacle of the NFL
about
combine.
Todd Haley?
Happened. The Todd Haley would have if I would have been in mid sip
Yeah,
because that's on a mug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's right behind
Is
me.
it right there?
Final one here, guys. The Detroit Lions. We'll go all the way down to number 17. Higher, lower, or just right in front of them, the Giants, Patriots, and Titans.
I think
Behind them, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and Green Bay.
the
Bishop.
big mistake they make is they're doing this on their record, not how they're playing right now. Detroit would be favored over several of the teams that they have ranked ahead of them. It's just that they're 6-7 because they lost 6 of their first 7
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
I love seeing what the Lions do every single week right now. Even when they were losing, they just always seem like they make games fun.
They are fun. They're a lot of fun, and
DLD, baby.
They got to get Jamison Williams going. I want 40 snaps.
let him cook a little
Let's
bit.
go.
What a
Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join as a customer, as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Thanks, AP. Good job out of you. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The official printer partner of the Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size offense. Call 216-485-2000 or visit OhioBusinessMachines.com. Guess what?
What?
The next level's next.
That's right.
We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.